Hi, Craig.
You gonna greet him every time?
Yeah.
Welcome.
To-
Yeah, welcome, Craig.
yeah.
Welcome everyone
Oh,
to our listeners. Today is Thursday, and it's time for Hoosier Maine with your co-hosts, Dremel, Anthony, and
hey.
Jared.
Ho. Yeah, there you go.
Somebody cut that in. Make it good.
Yeah. Come on, editor.
Do something. I don't know. That might be copyrighted if we
Here,
edit that.
I think it's this one. Did that one do anything?
No, but it will.
This one?
Mm-mm. Nope.
Anything? Nothing?
Mm-mm.
That one?
Nope.
I don't know.
Well, I don't remember what we talked about last week. I didn't see any good comments from our loyal listeners, and if there's some posted in the future, we will address those. What we do have for you today, folks, is a couple things. Some current events that happened as of the 13th, well, the 12th actually. We'll talk a little bit about Fallout, I think, and we have a working top 5 retro game list that we wanna talk about here today. I don't know about you. I'm tired today.
Yeah, I was going to say, I am not 100%. We are in the stressful part of football season, and so I am.
Yeah, you guys are on a hot streak. You guys are still 11-0.
Still undefeated. We're 13-0 at this point. Sectional champions, playing in the regional finals tomorrow. And if we win, we'll go to the semi-state. 3 games away from the big one.
That's what I'm talking about, baby.
Oh yeah.
The mythical panther crawls out from the depths of hell for yet another strike at victory.
You know, we haven't really ever talked about that, but in the event that we end up winning the state championship, unfortunately, our podcast Hoosier Maine podcast will have to take a small break because every single one of the coaches will be arrested and thrown in jail for drunken disorderly conduct, and we will not be bailed out.
They'll give you a phone call.
Well, I mean, I can record from the cell is what I'm saying, but
yeah. It'll be recorded on here and by the state.
Yes. And used against us.
And used against you and probably me for fraternizing or whatever.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm his legal whatever retainer. Yeah. He has me on retention, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Yes, the tables have turned. You're no longer my paid imaginary friend. I'm your paid imaginary intern now. Or no, intern? No. What do you call it? Attorney. Attorney!
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know.
Yeah, no one's getting paid here.
Nobody.
Really what it is. Current event, slapped across my table by first Foxy and then you.
Yeah.
Steam, everybody's talked about this. This is probably at this point have been kicked. The horse will have been kicked too many times or whatever. But wow, was not expecting that hardware lineup to come from Steam. The main one that I thought that I kept seeing posted in the Steam subreddit and Steam Deck subreddit. I've got a Steam Deck. Everybody's talking about the controller. Steam Deck users really like the controller layout on the Steam Deck. So I was like, yeah, dude, if they come out with one, I'm buying it tomorrow. I'm gonna buy it tomorrow. But man, what did you think? Like, that just shocked me.
I'm so impressed by what they've put together. Like, we were literally just talking about this, I think, last episode about the whole Tallgeese controller thing and us really wanting to invest in that kind of thing. And the analogy that I made to you was kind of like all of the major companies are sitting at a poker table and they put their cards down, and Nintendo puts their cards down first, and they're like, here's the Switch 2. And I'm going to be honest, I was not impressed at all. I have no desire to buy a Switch 2. And Xbox, I think, got up from the table and went away. I have no clue what they're doing. If they're withdrawing and not making consoles anymore, I don't know what their deal is. PlayStation's already has this really good hardware lineup where, they have the PlayStation, they have the PlayStation Slim, they have the PlayStation Pro, but, it has its own problems where you have to buy the disc drive separate. But then they also have like an integrated VR system, and they have the Portal and all of that stuff. Their problem is they don't market that stuff, so nobody knows what they have or whether it's good or not. And so Valve comes in and, Steam, and they're like, hey, here's what we have. And it blew me away, man. Like, this is a serious competitor for something that, and granted, large asterisk on the price. The price is going to make or break this thing. Because if it's $1,500, that's going to put it right in line with like a, something way more premium than what it is. But if they can come in with a competitive price, I don't know how you can't buy it. That's insane.
I agree with that. And some of the things that have been posted and said and already come out in videos by much more informed technical folk than myself, and I don't know, maybe you as well. These are our opinions too, like just what we think about this. And I look at Nintendo and I see a great family console. Really, anybody can play the games that are on it. I see my kids really enjoying the Switch. I'm not sure if I personally want to switch to. I know that for my kids, like, yeah, but like you're saying, that Steam machine, if that thing's like $400, it's gonna be a first day purchase for me. Like that takes my 7-8-year-old rig here and puts it to shame. And it's not even, from some of the tech videos that I've seen, not even like up to snuff to even a PlayStation 5 in power. Maybe a little bit underneath that. So I'm still interested. Their goal, one of the big things that stood out to me was that 8 gigabytes of RAM or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I think my rig has like 30. I'm like, what?
Well, and the problem is, during the video, they're touting that you can play every single game 4K 60 frames per second. That, I don't think that's, like a AAA title with that VRAM. I don't know that that's something that they can promise. But at the same time, like, it's like you said, we're sitting here with our computers that can't hardly run AAA titles now. You're running the Steam Deck, which is handling games fine. And if they're saying that it's twice as powerful as that, I don't, maybe they're right. Maybe they're squeezing every drop out of this. I just don't, I need to see it in action. You know what I mean? And sure, yeah, it's not going to be as powerful as a PlayStation 5. It's certainly not going to be as powerful as a custom built PC. That's not what it's trying to beat. It's not trying to beat out somebody who's buying a 5090. I guarantee you what they did was they tracked, because every year Steam checks your hardware profile. It's like, hey, are you okay with participating in this survey? And everybody does it. And they send their specs in, and I'm almost certain they took that and they were like, okay, yes, the top 1% of people are sitting here buying brand new specs every year, making sure they can run every single game at 8K, 420 hertz. But I genuinely think like 90% of the people who are playing games on Steam, this is who this is for. And we already talk about Steam as a great launcher and operating system. And, the thing that had me excited about it, the reason that I bought my PlayStation 5 was if I wanted to stream, there was no way I was going to be able to do that on just my PC. I have to have a 2-machine streaming setup where one system is dedicated to playing the game, one system is dedicated to streaming it. And this could be really attractive for that, because now all of a sudden I can hook this up to my laptop. The laptop can stream it. This thing can play it. Who cares how much VRAM it has? If, everything it has is going towards playing the game. I'm not splitting it up. I'm not using it for multiple things. I don't care if it's multi-core or any of that stuff. I'm using it to play games, and that's what it's doing. And I think it could really, really be powerful in that space.
Yeah, a lot of things that you said were reflected in some of the information that I'd seen. One of the big ones was no Windows, but it's Steam OS. It's a Linux powered machine. All the things that have come out with Proton, I've been experiencing this firsthand as I'm a Steam Deck user. And like you said, my rig can't even play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. My graphics card's too old at this point. It can't launch DirectX 12. But the Steam Deck can play it. Not super well. It's verified. But like you said, they basically gathered that data and they noticed most gamers were playing at 1080p, not need more than 8 gigs of RAM to play the games that they're playing. Yeah, I don't think that they're advertising it being a 4K machine, but there's a lot of information flying around. I mean, we're in the early days of it here, as people, like you said, once people get their hands on it, we're going to see what it can do. And that's just talking about the Steam machine, not talking about the Steam frame.
Yeah.
The VR device. That's crazy. And bringing it right back to what you were saying about how everybody put their cards on the table. Xbox is like, my job here is done, but you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing that. Nintendo's like, that'll be $80, please. And we're like, no. For the and then Sony PlayStation, I just feel like they don't advertise enough everything that they got. Like we were just talking about how if you were like in their ecosystem, like all the way, the PlayStation was your jam. That's what you had. And you wanted to have that, like, I want to go lay in the bed experience, but I still want to get up and play my PlayStation. I mean, for $200, you could have a PlayStation Portable and be able to play your PlayStation 5 games on Wi-Fi. Wow.
Yeah. The thing that's so frustrating, PlayStation doesn't advertise this at all. They don't tell you what their stuff does. They obviously do these really big, high production release trailers, and they're like, come check out our state of play. The average person doesn't watch the PlayStation state of play. If it comes across my YouTube channel and there's some YouTuber who's like, dude, check this out. They have this thing. That's crazy. I didn't know this until I tried to do it myself. I have a PlayStation Vita that I can stream PlayStation 5 games to. A Vita. No mods, no custom firmware. It does that standard stock. And it just blows my mind. That's the only thing that's keeping me from buying the Portal, and I still might end up doing that just because, like you said, the price is there. But PlayStation has this great this great ecosystem of games and this great ecosystem of hardware, and they're slowly bringing that over to the PC. Now, granted, they're never going to give you the full Monty. They're going to give you a little taste and be like, come on over. Maybe you like that. Come on over. But Steam has everything. That's where people want to go if they're playing PC games. So if you have this Steam machine and then it comes with a great controller, I actually own the old Steam controller, and I talked to you about this. I think it was great when it came out, but the thing that I loved the most about it was the customability. You can literally change what every button does. You can set profiles up in games. So like, let's say I'm playing a shooting game and I have a machine gun and then I run over and pick up a sniper. I can press the button to change my profile and all of my settings change over to this new sniping profile. And then I drop the sniper and I pick up a handgun. I can press a third profile and now it's got my handgun profile. Like it can do all of that. So I'm excited about every single piece of this puzzle, like all 3 things that Valve has come out with. I'm excited for it. I really want to see what they cost and what it looks like when people are using them.
I'm sitting here too, waiting for the Steam Deck 2 as well. That entire hardware line will sink me further into being that as my main ecosystem. And I know you and I have talked about the PlayStation. I was pretty close to becoming a PlayStation guy again because of my aged rig and because I can't play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at a visually acceptable range. But man, that, like you said, that controller, you have the original Steam controller, and I have the Steam Deck, and from my experience of using it, I really love like how it feels in my hands, how it feels to move my thumbs across the track pads they have this haptic feedback that feels really good, which is really the haptic feedback stuff. I know you've explained to me in the PlayStation controller. You were talking about Stray, and I think you should tell the folks at home about that for those who haven't played it like myself.
Yeah, so obviously the PlayStation controller and the way that Steam does it are slightly different. PlayStation uses it in their trigger buttons, whereas on the Steam controller, it's like you said, it's a tactile haptic feedback on the trackpad. So on PlayStation, it's all it is a rumble feature in the trigger. So when you pull the trigger, like let's go back to that first person shooter analogy. If I pull out a pistol and I pull the trigger, it's a very light trigger pull. I can pull that, as fast as I want. But if I pull up like a big machine gun or something like that, you've got to squeeze this thing down and it's shaking and vibrating when you're firing it. But this sounds so silly and childish, but the game that I enjoyed it the most on was on a game called Stray, where you play as a cat. And one of the things that you do in the game, kind of as like your save system, is you go to these scratching posts and you have to alternate back and forth between L2 and R2, L2 and R2. And he scratches his claws on the scratching post. And it gives you the haptic feedback like you're clawing into this thing and you can feel it. And it's such a stupid thing, but it feels so cool and so immersive when you're doing it. And you're just like, oh, that's really cool that they thought of that. It has nothing to do. They very easily could have had a save system where it's just like press start and, go down to save and then you're saved. But it's just a cool thing that you can do now because you have this option. One of the games that come with a PlayStation 5 is Astrobot. And it's kind of like the, I guess, demo disc for the system, where it's like, check out what all of your stuff can do. And it's also kind of like a history of PlayStation tour. And while you're playing it, it obviously shows you all of the things the controller can do. And that was another one that was really fun. And I know it's a very highly rated game just because it feels fun to play with the controller. So yeah, the fact that the Steam, did you say it was called the Steam Controller 2? The fact that it has that in the touchpad, that's awesome. I love that. I think that's such a cool way to make games feel better while you're playing them.
Heck, they're just calling it the Steam Controller. They didn't even bother giving it a second title.
Yeah, there you go.
It could be confusing though if you went to look it up, but you just if you somehow hadn't heard about this Steam announcement, just go type in Steam hardware and it'll pull up all 4 devices, including the Steam Deck. What another thing that we were talking about? I don't remember. I think we may have been talking about last week. We were talking about that Tallgeese controller. I think you were saying that earlier. Yeah. This thing has the paddles on the back.
Two sets of paddles on the back. That's huge.
So you get you could just do your 4 face buttons on the back and not even have to use the thumb button.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, I'll do it.
I want that.
Yeah.
How dare?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that price.
We recently went back and played Dark Souls. You played Dark Souls and I played Demon Souls. And the button layout on those games are infuriating. You have to run by pressing circle, but you also have to keep your shield up in case somebody swings at you while you're running. So you're running with the circle button, you're holding down, I think it's L1 or L2 while you're running, but then you also have to use both analog sticks to control the camera and your movement. And so you have this weird claw grip thing going on that it hurts. It physically hurts. And so it's like having buttons on the back. I'm like, who cares? I literally press the back paddle button. I'm not using my thumb to do anything other than control the sticks. And it's like, there you go. Problem solved. Doesn't hurt me at all. The original setup sucked. I made it something better and I'm fine. You move on. I will never go back, by the way. That's how I game from now on. Call me an old man. I know we joked about the Tallgeese controller. Don't care. That's what I am now.
Yeah, it's no longer a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big news. I'm pretty excited about it, mostly because I'm seeing a future for my gaming. Big things that I like about PC gaming modding. I like to be able to emulate old games easily from my computer. I can I can go to my library that I've collected. I don't have to get the drawer out and get my old console. I can just play, and then turn it off. Maybe I don't play it again for a year, and I didn't have to drag out the old consoles and all that stuff. But yeah, I was pretty pleased about that. I was like a little kid. I was coming in and telling my wife over, and I was like, oh, and it's only this big. It's a companion cube like in Portal. Everybody's calling it the GameCube. That's hilarious, right? She's like, try to watch my show. She's like, turn it up. No, she was supportive and happy about it. But moving on here, I think you were wanting to talk a little bit about that Fallout Season 2. I feel like this feels like a gaming thing to talk about. I know you were kind of a little unhappy about the anniversary that they've done. You're the big Fallout guy here. So what are you thinking about that?
Well, okay, so Fallout Day, like the day that they've designated as the day that they announced Fallout news, everybody was thinking that they were going to announce a Fallout New Vegas remaster, because this would have been the 15-year anniversary of its release, and everybody was excited about it. They were like, what is Bethesda going to do? They have to do something. And they did. And instead of a Fallout New Vegas remaster or a Fallout 3 remaster, they came out with Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition, which at first I was like, okay, that makes sense. It's not their newest Fallout game, which is 76, but 76 has been getting continuous updates. So cool, they announced something new for Fallout 4. Let's see what it is. And it honestly took me a little while to realize what it was that they were actually selling, because the announcement was kind of weird. It didn't really make sense. And when I looked up what it was, when I tell you that I have never been more pissed off at Todd Howard, I'm going to try to explain this as calmly and rationally as possible as I can, and then I'll freak out. So there's 3 tiers to this release. You get the premium edition, which is $70. You get Fallout 4, all of the DLC, and all of the Creation Club content. You get the next tier down, which is an upgrade. If you already own Fallout 4, you get Fallout 4, all of the DLC, and all of the Creation Club content. That's $50. And then for $20, you get the lowest tier, which is you just get the Creation Club content, all of it. So in essence, what this release is, it's $70 for a game that you already own, and you get nothing new except for the Creation Club content. Which, the Creation Club content was essentially what tanked Bethesda. They got sued over it for releasing DLC that was supposed to be included in the, when they released Fallout 4 originally, they said if you buy into the, I forget what they called it, like the pre-order thing where you're like, I'll take all of the DLC up front, it would include all DLC. So they gave you all the DLC, and then they started releasing Creation Club content, and they're like, oh, no, that doesn't count. That's not DLC. Well, they got sued over it and lost, and they closed Bethesda Studios and sold themselves to Xbox over that. And now they're selling it to you in Anniversary Edition for $20. That's the only thing that you get. And if you buy any of the other step-up programs, you already own Fallout 4, you get nothing. You don't get anything new. You're paying more money for nothing. And I was furious about this. It's so stupid. And obviously they're trying to promote the show. The show was very popular. It did really well, and season 2 is getting ready to come out. So they're trying to build up hype for that. But for crying out loud, man, Bethesda, Fallout 4 is now the new Skyrim, where they're just going to keep re-releasing it over and over and over again. And a bunch of people were mad because they didn't get New Vegas. A bunch of people were mad because they didn't get Elder Scrolls 6, which, by the way, they said they haven't even started on that. And it's like, whatever, man. Like, you guys go do whatever it is that you're going to do, because clearly you don't care about making video games anymore. I was furious when I saw this. This ticked me off more than anything I've seen in gaming in a long time.
You handled that pretty cordially. You get bonus points. You get a +1. We're not going.
Thank you.
Not going fully nuclear.
Ugh. Everything that happens with Fallout 4 is ridiculous. It's so infuriating. And for them to treat for them to treat this announcement like the way that they have, where it's like, oh, you know what? You guys have been really good, being really patient. And so we're going to give you a little treat. Here you go. And then it's like, but we already have this. Like, you took a toy out of our room and you're giving it back to us. And they're like, well, you're lucky to have it because we could have thrown it away. And it's like, okay, all right. I'm going to swing on Todd Howard if I ever see him.
Folks, if you too will join Anthony on swinging on Todd Howard, why don't you just send Anthony a comment on what you feel about the Fallout situation? What is the fallout from this announcement? That's what I would like. I would love to hear what some of our listeners had to say about that. But moving on here, just so we don't run out of time on this last topic, because there's quite a few games on here. We've talked about some of these games before. We wanted to do a little top 5 trial thing. We were thinking about this and thinking about. I was like, hey Anthony, what would you put on a top 5 list? And then we noticed that that just like spiraled into like several conversations. So this is going to be our joint-ish working top 5 list. I think we already know what's at the very top. We're not excluding it because you already know, but it's Final Fantasy VII. How'd this get on the top of the list? Tell about the Twinkie.
Well, for the point of this list is, if we both have a top 5 list, we realize they would be very similar except for 1 or 2 games. So this is kind of to protect our own separate lists so that they're more varied. But I think the reason why Final Fantasy VII is on both of our lists is because it is everything that we love about video games. The cinematography, making a game feel like a movie. The soundtrack is amazing. At the time, the graphics were amazing. I still think they're great. They're amazing. I think they hold up very well for a PlayStation 1 game. This for me, if I were to put a list together of greatest games of all time, Final Fantasy VII is number 1, and I don't think that there is ever going to be a game that could ever top it. The only thing that's ever come close has been Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth.
I love that. One of my favorite things about this game is obviously the PlayStation was a very nostalgic system for us, and this was the one that probably we both played first on this system. But now that we're adults, there's so many ways you can play this game. You can play the PC, you can play the Switch, some of the other ports that's gone around. My favorite is obviously the PC because there's an incredible modding community, and it's called the Seventh Heaven modding stuff. It's Seventh Heaven, and within that there's like all these upscalers and widescreen mods and mods that change how the game works. So there's like all this extra replayability. There's this one mod I really want to try, the New Threat, that increases the difficulty or changes how the game works, and you'll have to relearn how to play it. There's a really incredible. There's 2 retranslations of the original game through the Shinra Archaeology, which is supposed to be kind of a tie-in, a closer, more accurate translation for English speakers, and it ties it more closely into Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth and Crisis Core, and they even added scenes, so that's really cool. There's a really cool retranslation that has voice acting done by the fans called the Echo S. I mean, the list goes on, and it's just an incredibly cool thing to see such an old game get such a huge amount of mods that really change it and make it better. One of my personal favorite mods for a vanilla plus experience was that it's called PHS. It's in the game you can use, outside of combat, you can use the PHS to change your party members after you get so far in the game. Well, this one allows you to change your party members during a fight, which is so cool, so fun. There's just incredible amount of work done on that game by the fans, and I just love that. I always wonder if that's why we don't get like a proper like actual remake of the original game, or remaster, or whatever you want to call that. since we have Final Fantasy VII Remake. Can you imagine what would you call that? Final Fantasy VII Remake. True remake. Quotes.
Revengeance. We're saving Revengeance for the third game, so we can't call it that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We can't use reunion. Yeah, okay. But Final Fantasy VII has earned that title with us. I mean, it's one of my favorite Final Fantasy games, and I love all the Final Fantasy games. It's really hard to pick just one of them, but this one stands out above the rest for a lot of good reasons. I think I'll do what's on. I know I did the one on the top of the list, but I'm gonna do the next one. This one's for me. But we both kind of agreed on this. I don't know if this is the number 2. This list is arbitrary, except for Final Fantasy VII. That's definitely the top. Next one for us, I think this is more about nostalgia more than anything. And it's Gen 1 Pokemon. So red, blue, green, yellow, Gen 1 on the Game Boy. This game changed our elementary schools when it hit the Game Boy. Everybody had it. Everybody was playing it. Everybody had link cables. People were playing it on Game Boy. They were playing on Game Boy Pocket. They were playing on Game Boy Color. We were trading and battling in the schoolyards, on the buses. I remember my older brother made laminated badges for people to try to get from him, like he was a gym leader or whatever. I mean, it was just an incredible. So what was your experience with this game? Because I know we've not really talked about that Gen 1 experience.
I have 2 stories that I want to tell here, and I'll try to get them off as quick as I can here. I want you to imagine a little 6-year-old A-Money going into a Chi-Chi's for his birthday, and I have just gotten a Atomic Purple Game Boy Color and Game Boy Color and Pokemon Blue. And I'm playing this, and my face is glued to the screen. We have a really nice birthday dinner, and I eat my food as fast as I can, shovel the food in my mouth so that I can play the game again. And the wait staff comes over to sing happy birthday to me, and my face is buried in a Game Boy. I'm like, I do not care about that. I don't care about the ice cream that you're getting me. All I want to do is play Pokemon. And I remember pouring hours into that, draining batteries, getting yelled at in the back of the car for having one of those worm lights that, was way too bright for anybody to be able to see while they're driving. I played that so much. And then obviously my sister had to have it, so she got red version, and then we could trade back and forth with each other. And then the other part of that story that I want to tell is, the spin-off of that became very popular, which was Pokemon cards. Those got so popular that they got banned at my elementary school. And so what we would do is we would go into the boys' bathroom, and there was a piece of the radiator that was broken. We would snap the top off, slide the cards that we wanted to trade into that, and then we would close it, leave, and go to our next class period, come back, and anybody else that wanted to trade with us, they would have their trade binder in there, and we would have these illegal trade rings in the boys' bathroom in elementary school where we would just be like, okay, I'll trade you this if you trade me that. And it was just ridiculous. I mean, that took over everything. Everybody was playing it. It didn't matter if you were a boy, a girl, if you were into video games, if you weren't. Everybody was playing Pokemon, and either you were playing the game or you were trading the cards. And it was the most popular thing in the world, and it's stayed that way since then.
I want to add my little anecdote here. This is a shout out to my brother Max. He's one of our listeners, I know. Remember when Gen 1 was first put into the Sears catalog? My mom and dad would give us a Sears catalog, and you would circle what you wanted and write your name next to it. And me and Max were looking at the Game Boy games. He couldn't have been maybe 6. I don't know. And I wasn't much older than him, maybe 8 or 9. I don't remember. And me and him are looking through the Game Boy games because we both had a Game Boy, and he was like, we were both like, oh, look at this Pokemon, or however you say this. We didn't know. And it was like, oh, that one's got a dragon on it. Oh, I love dragons. And he was like, I like blue. I was like, well, maybe I'll get the red one. And he's like, I'll get the blue one. I was like, yeah. So me and him got the Pokemon games. We were the first 2 in our house, and my other 2 brothers didn't want it. We were like, you guys should get one too. And they were like, no way. And I just took that Charizard and ran all the way to Blaine, level 70 Charizard. Everybody else was terrible. And then my younger brother, Max, he kept catching Rattatas. He loved that thing. And then when he got a little further closer to Viridian Forest, he caught a Nidoran male, and that was like his favorite Pokemon from then on. He managed to get it to evolve into a Nidoking. He still loves Nidoking to this day. But yeah, Pokemon. Yeah, go ahead and tell him the next one.
Well, this is maybe where we kind of diverge. Maybe same brain cell but different thought. Where I think a Legend of Zelda game absolutely deserves to be on this list, but we can't decide on which one. And so mine, for me, the best is Wind Waker. I loved that game. I played it all the way through. I had it on the GameCube, one of the very few Nintendo games that I've ever owned. And I loved it. Oh my gosh, I played through that in every iteration. You know, the HD remakes that they keep putting out. I keep playing it. I loved the setting. I loved that it was kind of like a pirate theme. I loved that Princess Zelda was, she was a pirate and Link was kind of like this landlubber who was just like, I guess I can learn how to sail. And it was incredible. You would move about the map and your boat guy could, dig his claw down and you could get buried treasure. I loved that game. And, I'm not a Nintendo guy. 2 games on this list are Nintendo games. So obviously Nintendo was a huge part of our childhood. And so I can respect that. But man, and I think this is another thing that's worth mentioning. The facial animations in Wind Waker would crack me up. You would be sneaking along, like pressing your back up against a wall so you could hide. And Link would like scowl his eyes and be like, you can't see me. And just like slink along. And then when he got out, he'd be like, yeah. It was amazing. I loved that game so much.
Slinked. Look, we wrote down Zelda, right? And this is a very hard one for me up to a certain point, and then it's very black and white as far as each generation of Zelda. And Wind Waker, I loved Wind Waker. I also have iteration of that game as well as many other Zelda games. And you're right. That game was just so much fun. Being able to have the reason it was called the Wind Waker is because you had this baton. What is it called? The little conductor wand. And you would instead of like in the previous 2 Zelda games at the time, which was Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, you had this baton thing, and you would do the songs, and then it would blow the wind in different ways, so you could sail, and then you would have these big and the music was really incredible. The art style was so cute and so cartoonish, and it really gave Zelda fans a whiplash. Of course, I think they had a whiplash from the Super Nintendo to Ocarina of Time, so it really wasn't out of the realm of what Zelda had been doing. The West didn't really like this game for that reason, that art style, and everything that you can read about it. And where Twilight Princess, they made Twilight Princess basically for Western players because the Japanese didn't really like that game. So there's all this division. It's such a big name, and I want to put Ocarina in this list, but I also want to put A Link to the Past in this list, because I just feel like the 3 games that we've mentioned now, so we've got A Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, and Wind Waker. I feel like these are some of the best Zelda games ever made. Like, you get everything that I love about Zelda, which is interesting biomes, good puzzles that are built into the castles, into the dungeons that you go into, and it seems very purposely how they're designed, and just everything that you've got, the extra items, and they're so important to the areas that you come into. You come into a new dungeon, you get a new treasure, and that treasure helps you get through to the end of the dungeon and to beat the boss. And it was just so much fun. That journey in each of them was so special, because it's like Link to the Past. The whole thing was like traveling between the 2 dimensions. Ocarina of Time, you've got the fucking horse and traveling between being an adult and being a kid. And then Wind Waker is like you go sailing, and that sounds like it could be boring. Like, you just get in a boat and sail around? Yeah. No, it's pretty fucking cool is what it is. That was just good games. It's hard to pick one, That debate could go on all night if we sat here. Is it Wind Waker? Is it Ocarina of Time? Which is the best? I'd say many Zelda fans would say Ocarina wins in this, but I think putting Wind Waker down is a poor choice. You know.
Pause. Editor cut in
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify. It says I say put down. I mean that to say it's bad. Like to say Wind Waker is bad would be a poor choice. Not that putting it down on the list it was a poor choice. It's a good choice. Anyway, back to you, Anthony.
I think that's fair. We're splitting hairs.
Yeah.
You're literally saying which of these 10 out of 10 games is the best. And it's like they all are. They're all the best. You play any of them. Play one of them. It doesn't matter. They're the best.
How do you pick one? I can't pick one. We were having this debate when we were talking about this topic. I can't just pick one. I can't just pick 5 games. I could slap Final Fantasy VII on there all day because of how influential it was to me. And we've got our own personal top 5s, but trying to pick 5 games between the two of us, I think we were having to come down to what was everybody talking about in school, and these were the games. You want to tell the next one?
Yeah, I'll jump in here, and this is kind of again we're splitting hairs here, but it's the same type of thing, which is Super Smash Brothers, which back then would have been the Nintendo 64 version, and I would also include Melee in that, the GameCube version, and then the other side of that coin is Soul Calibur 2. I just think those two fighting games spawned almost like their own. Yeah, almost like their own stigma at our school, where it was like, if you were good at those games, you were a prize fighter. And, it was like, well, how do you fare up against this guy? You were constantly being measured against everybody else in the school to figure out where you placed. And you just practiced for hours on end. I remember coming home from school, and what you would do is you would set up a Smash Bros. Versus mode against 3 CPUs, 3 level 9 CPUs. And you had to win. It wasn't just you had to survive. You had to win. And so that's how, and you would just get better by doing that, fighting these level 9 computers that were against you. And it would get so competitive. And then obviously I didn't even know about Soul Calibur 2 until I started hanging out with your brother Bryce, and he introduced it to me, and I was hooked instantly. I was like, this game is amazing. I want to play it. Now, granted, I played on the PlayStation 2, which I think had Hiachi from Tekken, whereas you guys played on the GameCube, and that would have had Link as the guest character. But I don't think that really affected anything too much. My characters were Yoshimitsu and Astaroth, so I didn't really care what system I was playing on. I just wanted to play it. But again, Soul Calibur 2 was much more. Both of these games are very cerebral in the fact that, yes, you're fighting the other person, but you're also managing the stage, and so I think there was just that element of you had to be strong, you had to be fast, you had to be cerebral, and these games took over our teenage lives, man. I mean, we just played them constantly.
My favorite thing about both Soul Calibur 2 and Melee was there was all these cliques within the school. And then within those cliques, one fighter would arise to be the best, and then, like you said, it was like prize fighters. Then the cliques would be like, "Well, can you beat my prize fighter guy?" And then we'd meet up, and then it'd be like, you pound that guy. Somehow, I never got to fight the Spencer boys in high school. They became specifically the one. He became really fucking good with our buddy Mr. Wolf. Yeah, I mean they just kept going. They just kept, I petered out and fell off by the time Brawl and Ultimate came out. I was just like nostalgia playing Smash, and those motherfuckers were like tournament level. I think they still are tournament level.
Oh yeah,
them boys are good players. Good, it's fun to watch them.
I mean, they can say that they've fallen off and they don't practice anymore. It doesn't matter. Their baseline is still so high, and like you said, I think Smash Brothers was one of those games where, because it was a Nintendo game, everybody owned it because that was the best version of kind of that, party fighting game for Nintendo. That was all you had. And so that was the reason to own a Nintendo system, was that system, or was that game. Whereas, Soul Calibur, you played it on whatever system you had. It wasn't like, I'm going to go out and buy a GameCube to play Soul Calibur 2. I'll just buy it on PlayStation 2. I already have one. But, Smash, it was like, okay, I have to get these things. I have to be, it was almost like you had to always be on guard, because you didn't, like you said, you didn't know when you were going to be challenged. And so, like, I don't know how to describe this to somebody who wasn't at our high school, where, you have the jocks, you have the band kids, you have the alternative kids and the emos, all of that. But like you said, Smash Bros. Destroyed those barriers, and it was like, you over there, do you want to play Smash Bros? Yeah, get over here. I've got a controller set up, and it's just like, okay, yeah, let's go right now. And you would just play people, and it didn't matter if you were friends or not. You would just play Smash. You would get invited over to people's houses because you were good at Smash. And it was like, yeah, I'll play you. I don't care. Yeah. Sure. Can I bring my own controller?
Yeah. First, who's your main? And second, do you have a Toggies?
Yeah. Who do you play? Yeah. You better not be playing Fox.
You better stay off my main. No. You would see then who's the better main. I feel like that. If you had two Marths or something, you'd be like, well, who's better? Best 4 out of 5. Let's see it, boys. I want to see those thumbs bleed. The final game on this list before we run out of time. This one was super influential throughout our high school as well. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. I think everybody ran out and bought a skateboard after playing this game. And skate shoes. I know I had some DCs. I had some yellow DCs that I was really proud of, that I wore. I could almost ollie in the grass. And I was like, what am I doing? I shouldn't have a skate deck in my hand. I should have a Game Boy in my hand if I'm going to be outside.
Right.
I learned that pretty quick about myself. But
there were two things, I think, about this game that made it instantly popular and, as addictive as it was, which was, it was very easy to play. Even though we weren't skateboarders to start with, we felt like we were skateboarders by the time we got done playing. But then the other part of it was the soundtrack of these games were so good. We're I'm trying to say this as politely as I can. We're sheltered farm boys. Even those of us who don't actively live on a farm, our school is in the middle of 2 fields. Like, we're hillbillies, we're hicks. We don't have access to the outside world, and so we play Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and it's like, A, we become these cool skaters, and 2, we're listening to this really cool music that instantly just was like, I want to listen to every single song, and I want to listen to every single band and their songs. And it was just insane. It was like overnight, like you said, everybody went out and got skate shoes and a skateboard. We all had those little free magazines that you could request, and they would mail you a magazine, and it would be like, oh, when I get money, I'm going to buy these wheels for my skateboard and all this stuff. A skate shop opened up in my town, had no business being open, and closed very shortly because, the elder boomers of our town were like, you dang kids, no skateboarding. And it's like, we literally have a paved area that's like a 10 by 10 area of pavement. We're not hurting anybody. And it's like, get out of our town, you hooligans. And it's like, okay, whatever. But yeah, it completely took over. Everybody was playing the game. Everybody immediately tried to go do the tricks. They all got smashed their faces. I remember the big one was, you would go to the elementary school in our town, and there was a parking lot, a very small set of stairs, and then that led into the building. And it might have been 3 or 5 steps. And it was like, can you ollie down that? And I was like, I'm going to try it. And everybody would do the same thing. They would get full speed, get to the thing, and then, none of us were actually good enough at ollieing to get out. We could all go up, but we couldn't go out. And so we would get down and crash and skid our faces and our elbows and stuff. I don't ever want to skate again. It stinks.
Yeah, but I mean, that game introduced awesome music to us. The best part about Tony Hawk Pro Skater is that it's not realistic at all. The physics are insane. Like you slam a fucking trick, do a fucking 1080 in the air, spinning. You're like 400 feet in the air, and then you come back down, boom, hit that fucking big bomb, fucking slam back, and then you like hit the fucking grind rail, and then you just like the score is like going up, and it's like and you're like just keeps awesome. Like it was just such a fucking cool game. Like it just the aura of this game just was amazing. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1, we had all played it. Pro Skater 2, we were all skater boys then, and girls, skater boys and girls, thanks to Avril Lavigne. But I remember people calling each other posers and all kinds of stuff, like from the skate culture, and like we're like you said, we're out in the Midwest. There's cornfields all around us. You poser! Like we're all posers, bro. Yeah. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? And like you said, it was almost overnight. Everybody had a pair of skate shoes. I had a pair of blue Osiris. They were the biggest, puffiest shoes I've ever owned in my entire life. But it was like, I was like, with these, I'm not going to scuff up my shoes when I skateboard. Yeah. So you had to have a pair.
Yeah, they were flat.
And it was just like, it took over everything. Yeah, they were flat on the bottom. You couldn't run in them.
No.
It was insane.
I think that wraps up our little top 5. We have rambled today.
Good.
I would love to sit here and just keep talking about these and just keep adding to the top 5. And it's 5. We already added 2 for 2 of these slots. I hope you know that.
Two.
How much?
Well, I definitely think the next time we do this, we need to do our own separate top 5s. So that'll give us a little bit more variety in the games. I think this was just more about kind of like Final Fantasy VII. I think we can both agree that's going to be our number 1. This frees that spot up for something else, And Gen 1 Pokemon, I think that was just so culturally overwhelming. You have to include that. I mean, that took over, like you said, every elementary school ever. And then, it doesn't matter what Zelda you pick one. That's going to be an amazing game. And then, I think those bottom 2, I think that was maybe more about our childhood and our experience in our high school or, elementary school and high school and all of that stuff. But yeah, I think that frees us up for the next time we go to make our list, where we can kind of be a little bit more personalized and we're not worried about, it's like, well, I'd love to put that on there, but how is it better than Pokemon,
Real quick, the most honorable of mentions, we left it off on purpose because we're getting very close to that retro replay, which was Metal Gear Solid. I'd love to sit here and ramble about Metal Gear Solid and why it deserved to be on this list, because it also was very, very influential in our high school. You'll have to hear my and Anthony's anecdotal stories about that game in that special episode with our special guest. And you'll have to wait to see that too, folks at home. But is there anything else you want to tell these people? I mean, there's a lot of stuff I want to tell them.
I don't think so. Yeah. You just pull up a chair and we'll just keep going here. We'll just keep rambling for another hour.
Sun's not up yet.
Yeah. Didn't hear no bell.
Right. Well, I guess we'll see you next time, folks. What are you going to say? Are you going to say something?
See ya.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Hey, Craig, get out of here. Go on, get.
Hey, Craig, whack his people.
No.